Hey everyone, Mr. Devil here, Kenny Danico, 3-time Stanley Cup champion of the New Jersey Devils, and you're listening to the Uncle Puckers New Jersey Devils podcast with Chris, Dan, Bobby, and Tony, the Uncle Puckers. Let's go Devils!
Hello, everybody. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. We are the Uncle Puckers, Chris, Dan, Bobby, and Tony. We have a very special guest tonight. Our fellow Hockey Podcast Network crew from the Brew Jackets are here tonight. We have Kevin and Lance from the Brew Jacket Podcast talking all about the Columbus Blue Jackets. So we're all going to get into it today. We're going to talk a little shit to each other and get really in the pulse of what is going on in the Ohio area when it comes to that team and the feelings and where they're going to end up this year in the Metropolitan Division and what they're kind of expecting for this year. So it'll be a lot of fun. Welcome, guys. How are you?
What's up, man?
Doing great, man.
So,
hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Good to be on the show. Thank you for having Lance and I on, and this has been great. And looking forward to this and talking some hockey about our favorite hockey teams.
Absolutely, dude.
Great.
Absolutely. Now, you guys have been Blue Jacket fans. You guys are a lot younger than us, apparently. I mean, I can tell, but you guys have been Blue Jacket fans your whole lives?
For me personally, 2009 is when I really got into the Blue Jackets, and the only reason is that I live in Illinois, and usually every year growing up, we would go down to Florida for spring break. That was like the big thing. And then in 2009, my mom was a teacher at the time, and her spring break did not line up with the time to go down to Florida because it's a timeshare that my grandma and grandpa own, and they only have it for a certain amount, like a certain week in March, and it just didn't line up. And my dad had already taken the time off from work, so he wanted to go somewhere. So, I'm a big Ohio guy. I love Cincinnati stuff and I love Columbus stuff. So he took me to do a trip to Cincinnati and go to Columbus, and I saw the Blue Jackets play. And since then, I've been following the Blue Jackets ever since 2009.
Yeah, it's kind of a little happenstance, but it worked out for you, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
And what about you, Lance?
Well, a lot younger than you. I don't know how much younger than you. I am 32. Me and Kev actually share a birthday. He is 1 year younger than me.
Okay.
Nice.
Weird. I've been a fan since, early 20s. I just, 100% honesty, transparency, I started playing NHL like 16.
Nice.
And just really got into it. And I had to pick a team. And
right. Why not pick your local
team?
Cleveland
Monsters fan. So so then I became a Columbus Blue Jackets fan, and ever since then it's just been Blue Jackets all the way.
All right. So for those of us that don't know, and I know I'm speaking for myself on this one, and I don't know who else, but one of you guys, please explain what is a Blue Jacket? Why are you guys called the Blue Jackets?
So
Kevin, go for it.
All right, I got this. I will. So it really just boils down to this: is that in American history, when you look back at the Revolutionary War, we often called the British redcoats because they wore red coats. And the Blue Jackets were named after the Union soldiers that fought to free the slaves in the Civil War. And Blue Jacket is another way of saying Union soldier. And Ohio is a top 5 state in sending the most troops to fight for the North during the Civil War. Also, most of the hats and the jackets and other articles of clothing that the Union Army wore during the Civil War was made in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Ohio produced 2 of the greatest generals in American history, Ulysses S. Grant and William Tecumseh Sherman, 2 guys that played a very pivotal role in winning the Civil War.
Right.
A top 5 state that sent the most troops to fight for the North, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So when the Columbus Blue Jackets is honoring Ohio's rich Civil War history, and it's also honoring the Union soldiers that fought to free the slaves that they're named after. And that's
So it's
why,
definitely for all the people who thought it was an insect. You're incorrect. Go ahead.
I thought it was a bug.
Yeah,
Now the
well,
cannon makes
yellow
way
cannon.
more sense. Just got to
You were
tell
thinking
you,
about
they
a
have a
yellow
cannon. I get it now.
So, and that's a criticism. That's a criticism that I have
With that mascot.
for the Blue Jackets. It's like personally, I like Stinger. I've gotten my picture with them because every year around Christmas time for 10, they do a Santa Stinger thing where you pay $10 and it goes to charity and you get your picture taken with Santa Stinger. It's pretty cool, and I like Stinger. But my big thing is it's like
I see.
It's like you're naming yourself the Blue Jackets. You're naming yourself after the Union soldiers, and you have a cannon, and you have a Kepi shoulder patch, which is what the soldiers wore. So
Right.
You know what would be a good mascot, Kevin, is if you had Ulysses S. Grant. You know, somebody with a big Ulysses S. Grant head in the stands dancing around.
Everybody would think it was Yosemite Sam.
Yeah,
So the Stinger's like the name association thing,
Yes.
right? It's kind of like having the Gecko for Geico and the car Fox for Carfax, which absolutely makes no sense at all. Now I see how the mascot. I never put it together because, as Tony said, thought it was an insect.
So,
I didn't know.
So that's really my big thing is you're naming yourself the Columbus Blue Jackets, named after the Union soldiers, and you're really going heavy on this Civil War thing.
Mhm.
Yet you have a bug as your mascot. It's like, I don't know.
Now,
It's
Kevin, I gotta
confusing.
say, I have to say,
There's a
like
message.
the Devils have a cooler mascot. Pretty
cool
I'm just
story.
gonna say it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it.
What was that, Lance?
I have to give credit to the Blue Jackets because since Kent Hitchcock was the coach in 2007, he is really the one that pushed the Blue Jackets to start using their Civil War theme because that's why they have their cannon when they score goals, when they win, take the ice, and that's
Which
really
they did like 3 times last year, right?
20.
There we go.
No, dude,
Starts early.
At least 4.
25. They did
Right.
25 wins. Anyways, but point being, Kent Hitchcock
Fucking
is really
Jersey.
the one. Kent Hitchcock is really the one that pushed them, the Blue Jackets, to do it because the Cannons. Along comes the Cannon. A couple years later, the Cannon third jersey.
Yeah, you got to
Beautiful
embrace
jersey.
that.
Yep.
I think it's probably good that most people don't know this, especially the southern states, because they might get all upset if you go
Well,
play
too
there.
bad. Too bad.
Yeah.
Don't
You know
start a
what?
fucking war because you didn't want to give up your slaves.
What doesn't upset?
I'm with you.
What
I'm with
doesn't upset the Southerners? You know, I mean, we shit on Florida more than I think anybody on this.
And
show,
I live in
so,
Florida
you know.
sometimes.
you. Most of the people at those Florida games are Yankees. They're displaced Yankees.
Yeah.
So it's really
Yeah.
it's a credit to the Blue Jackets because they have the cannon now. Kepi shoulder patch, cannon third jersey.
Uh-huh.
The people at the Blue Jackets games dress up like the Union soldier next to the cannon.
Yeah, that's cool as hell. They
So,
should
like,
embrace
they really
that.
They really get into it. And then the Blue Jackets, after each win, their version of Team MVP is they pass out a Union Army Kepi for who was the best player of the game. So it's a credit to the Blue Jackets for really leaning into that Civil War thing. They've been
See, this finally makes sense. And seriously, that is like almost like a branding issue for this team. And now you've kind of enlightened us as to what it's all about. They need to push that a little further, man.
Apparently, Ken Hitchcock can make the Hall of Fame in the marketing department as well with the
Hell of a
Columbus
guy.
Blue Jackets.
You know, Ken Hitchcock looks like he probably does some Civil War reenacting. Doesn't he look like he kind of does that on the side? He might.
I could totally see Ken
I could see
Hitchcock
him
being a
doing
Civil
that.
War
Camping
reenactor.
out a little bit. You know.
Now, do you guys know how the Devils actually got their name? Because there is an actual story behind it. You do know.
I do.
It's
I know. Yeah.
Oh, you both know. Okay, awesome. Then we don't have to get into it.
No, from what I've read, it's based off of a folklore from like the 1800s.
Exactly. Mrs. Leeds, who had 12 children, cursed her 13th baby to, you know, damn this child, whatever, came out as the devil. And then, for decades and centuries, really more so centuries since, it has terrorized the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, which is about 20 minutes away from where Dan and I live. And I've never, ever seen them.
It's a twisted story of birth defects and infanticide, and we love it. It's great.
Exactly.
Hey guys, with Columbus, I heard that like a lot of players say that, like Columbus is I'll be honest, I don't know. I've never been there. Obviously, I know that obviously the team pretty well, but I know it's a spot that it's like a hidden gem there to live.
Is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, Johnny Gaudreau thought so.
Yeah.
They get
Because he didn't want to come here.
Go ahead.
But it's an absolutely awesome city. It's one of the like every time I go there, like, okay, so I'm going to compare it to Cleveland real quick, all right? Every time I go to Columbus, it's nice and clean. I feel safe. There's not people on the sidewalk like passed out or drunk or
Definitely wouldn't like Florida.
No, I'm not going.
Yeah. Definitely not like certain
All
parts
right,
of
so I
Florida.
can't pass out on the sidewalk. I guess I can still go, but
I mean, I'll take an Uber.
Just compare
I
it
would
to
love
Cleveland.
to go to Columbus and check out a Blue Jacket game. That would be a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Yeah, and what Lance is saying there is absolutely right. Is that it's just a great, and what Tony has brought. A lot of players say, it's a hidden gem. It's a great place to be, which is absolutely true. Is that it is a great place to be. Everything is clean. It's safe. It's like sometimes you hear on the news how some of these stories have awful crime and drugs and and homelessness and all that stuff. Columbus does not put up with that.
Have you been to Newark? You sound like you've been to Newark.
I have not been to Newark, but
Well, if you come, just stay in about a 2-block radius of our
Stay around the stadium.
and then you're good.
So-
Don't go 2 blocks out, and you'll be fine.
it really the Columbus changed for the better once the Blue Jackets came to Columbus because it started an economic boom that's now worth now worth billions of dollars.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And now all the big time events, if they're coming to Ohio, now that they're picking Columbus, it could be sports, it could be political.
You can get Jimmy Buffett. To,
it could
probably
be-
not.
it could be
Though.
Too soon.
Too early, yeah.
No, but
It's
R.I.P.
not
Jimmy
because
Buffett.
music. It could be sports, political, music concerts.
Yep.
It could be comic book conventions, bodybuilding. You name it. If there's a big event that's coming to Ohio, it's coming to Columbus because the Blue Jackets started an economic boom.
How is the attendance there, Kevin? How is the attendance at the games?
The thing about awesome, the Blue Jackets have established an awesome fan base that shows up regardless of how
That's
they're
great.
doing.
That's very good.
Well, Nationwide Arena holds about 18,000, and they'll probably usually get about 15 to 16,000, and then sometimes they'll get 18,000.
The thing is with Ohio, you have so many sports-related cities that you could suffer the same kind of problem we have in Jersey, where right here where we are, we're kind of like in the shadow of 2 fairly big cities, New York City, Philadelphia. So a lot of our state fan base is kind of split 3 ways between the Devils, the Rangers, the Flyers.
Yep.
And being in Ohio, hockey not so much, but you got sports loyalties all over the place. And even with the hockey, you must have had a decent
do you
amount
have
of Pittsburgh Steelers fans,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Penguins
Yeah.
fans. Yeah, exactly.
Here's
Detroit
the thing
Penguins
about
fan.
that
Detroit,
is that
Forgot about them.
it's an unfortunate reality. It doesn't happen as much anymore, but you still have people that say that they like the Blue Jackets, but the moment they play Pittsburgh, they're wearing Pittsburgh shit.
Yeah,
and then the next Blue Jackets home game, you catch them wearing Blue Jacket stuff, and it's like, what the fuck?
Well, that was a big
Yeah.
thing in Tampa, Kevin. Like when I was in Tampa, I would go to the Yankee. I'm from Jersey, too, these guys, and I would go to the Yankee games in Tampa, and the same Tampa Ray fans would be wearing Yankee outfits that weekend. And it was just that's a big thing in Florida because it's the same thing as you have so many a mixture of fans
That's
and stuff.
your local team and your loyal team. That's
Yeah.
people are transient, so that's you
I
want to keep up with the team.
I can speak to that because I've gone to Florida many times over the years, and I wear like my Blue Jacket stuff and Bengals and Ohio State and whatnot, and I'm just walking around and random person, hey, go Reds, go Bengals, or go Ohio State, or hey, CBJ, go Blue Jackets. Like, yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's right. Florida is basically most people that don't live there now live there, and they like their other teams.
Well, let's get into the team.
Yeah.
So last year, look, you guys were decimated by injury. I mean, there really was. You're not crawling out of that last year. It was a shit year. You had a ton of injuries, a lot of bad luck. All right, that's over. What do you guys think of the moves so far that were made this summer? Mainly, I'm curious about what you guys think about your pickup of Damon Severson.
Personally, one of our biggest weaknesses was defense, which did not help our goalkeeping. So, bringing in Severson and Provorov just to bolster that. We have Zach Werenski. He's been our all-star for like several years now, and he didn't get to play like more than 13 games last year before he was hurt for the entire season. So we lost that leader. So with having him as a staple and just having some guys who are, maybe a little better with their hands than, say, like good Branson, he's there for a reason, but it's not like, to score points.
Yeah, not for his offense.
No. So to get some guys that are able to actually pass the puck and receive the puck well is just, it's encouraging to me a little bit.
What about you, Kevin? You happy with Severson?
Yeah, so basically, it really just boils down to this, is that realistically, the Blue Jackets never, ever, ever, ever should have been in the spot that they were in, but injuries really kind of screwed them right there, where you get to the point where you are just in a never-ending situation where you just can't get out of that hole. You have one good game, and you build some momentum, maybe 2 or 3 good games, and all right, looks like we're going somewhere, and then because all the injuries and everything, it gets to the point to where it's just too much. It builds up and it's too much, and there's no coming back from that. And
the year prior we went through that with the Devils. I mean, we went through
10 before
7.
that.
We've suffered a lot, so
goaltenders,
we totally get it. Like, we suffered. We were those guys.
You're a little loud.
So it's like it's kind of this little spectrum thing, because it's like the defense wasn't very good, so but there are a lot of injuries, so that's why the defense wasn't very good. And that's why a lot of the goaltending wasn't very good. So, like, being healthy by default is going to help. And getting someone like an Ivan Provorov and a Damon Severson is going to help big time.
Now, is Severson, do you guys know Severson on your top pairing?
Yes.
Is he with Werenski?
Yeah, according to this, according to cap-friendly projections,
yeah.
Okay. You're going to have fun with that. Good luck. I like Severson that now that he's not with the Devils. Damon Severson is I don't know how much you've seen of him. I thought he had a very good year last year, but he was also on the third pairing. So he did not get – every year before that he was one of the top 2. And he wants to be a forward. I mean, this dude will make defensive mistakes, but he can score some beautiful goals.
And some game winners for sure.
He's got amazing skill and stuff. It's just that sometimes some of the decisions would be like, I can't believe he did that. And, there's even some amount of own goals. Last year, though, I'll tell you that as we got closer to the playoffs, he came on strong. And he was actually a very good performer for us in the playoffs. So,
he had a good playoff.
He's a mixed bag, but I could totally see why you guys would want him, and I think it could work out pretty well for you.
He was the most sought-after defenseman, I think, wasn't he? I think.
He was one of the biggest free agents going out this summer.
I like Severson. I mean, I think he's kind of became. I think the fan base got a little hard on him at the end. All of us on our show, we kind of have different thoughts on him. But Dan's right. I mean, the guy really showed up in the playoffs. I mean, I was really impressed with that, and he did have a solid season. So. And
you guys got to love. Mike Babcock pickup, right? Yes. I mean, I think if I was in your position and being a Blue Jacket fan, I would be extremely excited about that. The guy's got the pedigree, and if everything that he has said up to this point is true, and he has learned from his past mistakes, and he can actually teach these young guys and bring them up and develop them in the right way, you guys will be in very good hands with him, man. That's got to be pretty exciting.
And that's one of the big things, is that this is where the Blue Jackets currently are. They need someone like that, because you have young up-and-coming talent, and a lot of them are taking good positive steps, but you need someone like a Babcock that can teach them to not only be good offensively, but you need someone to teach them defensively and help them bring them along. And part of the reason why they got Severson is because, look, big issue was they just couldn't get the part because of the injuries, but they just couldn't, a lot of times they just couldn't get the puck out of their own end to save their life. And the goalie can only stop so much, and then boom, you get scored on, boom, you get scored on. And what Severson, what I've noticed some of the highlights, he's just so good with just moving the puck and just getting out of there. That's just going to help the Blue Jackets, big time, along with Provorov. And in the press conference, Jarmo said that the Blue Jackets general manager, Jarmo Kekalainen, said that one of the reasons that they went aggressively after Severson, because he was their guy that they targeted for at least a year, but also they wanted to get ahead of it and not risk the bidding war and free agency. So by giving him that big contract that they did in trading for his rights, there is no bidding war. The Blue Jackets automatically win.
Damon Severson will, unless he's traded, will retire a Blue Jacket. I mean, you guys got him for 8 years.
Yeah,
so
that's the only kind of thing I'm like, huh.
It's a long contract.
That's what happens now. You get stuck with these contracts at the end. You kind of expect to eat the last 2 years.
Yeah, I would say 2 or 3. Yeah, if you can get 5 good years out of an 8-year contract and then, dump it off to, Arizona, you just do it. I go ahead, Bob.
I was going to say, actually, before I get to my point, just so you guys know, as soon as we got on the Hockey Podcast Network, the first thing I did was look at some of the shows on there to see if I could maybe find a show similar to us that's kind of a little different than just your standard statistical show. And Brew Jackets was the first one that popped into me, man. That was in my wheelhouse. I've been listening to you guys. I appreciate your show. I'm just really curious. So we had predictions, light predictions, if you will. And, I look at your team, and I certainly don't see the team that finished as low as you did last year, right? But we kind of got faced with the same thing that real analysts got faced with. It wasn't necessarily looking at your team and not appreciating them. It was saying, who are you going to move? Who are you going to beat up the ranks to climb up a little bit? So that'd be my question for you guys. Like, where do you realistically think this team can wind up? Obviously if you're healthy and that kind of thing, no glass ball here, but because somebody has to come out, that's the deal. Or two teams have to come out. So who do you see coming out and where do you see it going?
I would realistically say that on the lowest end, I would say something like 6 in the division.
Okay.
Highest 4. And the reason I say this is that a similar situation years ago happened to the Blue Jackets. The 2015-2016 season, they were coming off a not very good season. They picked 3rd. They got Dubois and a bunch of other stuff. And the following season, they finished 3rd in their division under John Tortorella. They went on a 16-game winning streak, 108 points. They made the playoffs and all this fun stuff.
Swept Tampa.
The team's still in there.
They did sweep Tampa, but that was a couple seasons later.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The 16-game winning streak was not that year. That's right.
You guys started out the Tampa basically cup
you guys
run.
Pissed them off.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right.
Yeah, finish
So,
your point.
my point being is that in 2016-2017, that season, the season after a bad season, they made the playoffs 16 games in a row, 108 points and 3rd in their division because that was a similar team like what this team is. It was a young up-and-coming team that had a lot of young blossoming talent, and that was the season that started to finally blossom to where the Blue Jackets went to 4 straight trips to the playoffs, including knocking out Tampa Bay and Toronto. And you have a coach like Mike Babcock that's a proven winner and can develop talent. You have a team like the Blue Jackets that's got young up-and-coming talent, and that's why I say 4th under best circumstances, that you could be fighting for a playoff spot if it all goes well. And if not, 5th to 6th is probably the lowest because the 2020-2022 season, a lot of people were saying they're not going to be very good. They're going to be last place. It didn't happen. They didn't make the playoffs. They had 81 points, but they were a very tough, competitive team that season.
So, Lance, you agree with the general assessment? You got something a little different?
Yeah, so I mean the one thing I'm gonna say is the Metro is a tough division.
For sure.
We got the Canes, we got the Devils, we got the Rangers. I mean, realistically, I see us finishing above Philly and the Caps.
Sure.
And maybe Pittsburgh. They're just starting really. I mean, not starting, but they're kind of aging out.
Yes,
Kyle Dubas might breathe a little bit of life in there for a year or two, but it's just that's the reality of it.
I had we did our Eastern Conference power rankings, and I out of the 16 teams, I had Columbus at 14. I had them above Philadelphia in the Metro, and that was it. I just think but I mean, Mike McCarthy on the XM he's super high on Columbus, man. This dude is like, I'm Columbus will be in the hunt for a playoff spot. And look, if Adam Fantilli hits and if your young guys start, playing their ass off and Babcock does what Babcock does, I can see a world where that totally does happen.
They make me nervous. I remember how they played a couple years ago. I remember how they play against us. And again, I don't know where to put them in the standings.
Right.
But I can see the whole thing just getting flipped.
That's how I feel.
Yeah,
I have them at 7th place in the Metro, but
and
I can
every
see I can see them
in the world had the Devils in 8th last year.
Yeah,
you never
and
know
I
when
can
that
see them
jump's gonna
passing
happen.
Washington. I can see them. I think Pittsburgh is gonna. I think this is kind of the last year for Pittsburgh, but I do see Pittsburgh and the Rangers fighting for that 3rd spot this year. I really do. I think Pittsburgh is going to still be in there. They are old. I do think that they're not going to really do too much damage if they make the playoffs, but I do think they'll be in the hunt. But I'm real excited to kind of see what Columbus does this year, because we talk about it all the time. To have that new blood in the playoffs is going to be so nice when it's New Jersey and Columbus and Ottawa and Buffalo and all those teams going after each other. And, the Bostons and the Rangers, maybe they're, struggling a little bit, which is fine with us. So, that's a world I want to be in.
What did you guys think about the Fantilli pickup, the draft?
Oh,
Oh,
God.
my God. He fell into your fucking lap.
Yeah.
You guys must have been doing backflips.
Silver
Oh, my
lining.
God.
All right?
This is my feeling. So on the day of the draft lottery, I'm watching it, and Kevin Weeks fucking blows it by spoiling
Yeah,
it.
he did.
Oh my God! What the fuck was that? And then a couple days later, he tries to backtrack on Twitter, like, "Oh, I didn't do it," and blah, blah. It's like, yeah, you did. Like, just be honest with yourself. You did. You did. But I remember the day of the draft. And when they had the second best chance to get Bedard, and then when they get announced to 3, I'm like, oh, fuck. And I'm legitimate thinking to myself that Blue Jackets lost out on an opportunity to get Bedard or Adam Fantilli.
Mm-hmm.
And Leo Carlsson is projected to be a good player, and I totally would have been okay with the Blue Jackets getting him. But to me, it kind of a downgrade. And I was at a point where I was mentally preparing myself for Leo Carlsson, and I was okay with it.
Mm.
And then the day of the draft, I think, oh, it's probably going to be. But then you keep hearing over the couple weeks leading up to the draft, the rumors pop up. I don't know. The Ducks might pick Carlson. The Ducks might pick Carlson. The Ducks might pick Carlson.
Sure.
And it keeps coming and coming and coming. Ooh, maybe there's something to that. And then the day of the draft, the Ducks pick Carlson, and I'm like, holy fucking shit! The Blue Jackets might get Adam Fantilli. And then the Blue Jackets pick Adam Fantilli, and we're like, let's fucking go.
Nice.
I saw the best picture. It was a picture of a guy with a Fantilli jersey on. I think it was a Ducks jersey, and he was just staring.
Yep.
It just total
But I'll tell you,
sadness.
even more so than Connor Bedard, I believe Adam Fantilli is more NHL ready at this moment right now than pretty much anybody else that went in that first round. And he's going to be fun to watch. I'm really excited to check him out this year.
And the thing about Fantilli is that he, other than like Pierre-Luc Dubois and like maybe like Ryan Johansson, the Blue Jackets have never really had that good top 6 center. And they had it with Pierre-Luc Dubois. All this good stuff. He helps them to the playoffs multiple times and scores big goals. He gets his first ever hat trick in his rookie season. Then he gets his first ever playoff hat trick against the Maple Leafs, and all this positive progression is going up. And like, all right, we finally got our number 1 center. And then he does his stupid shenanigans and quits on the team that gets traded. And then that set the Blue Jackets back. And then finally, you have a guy like Adam Fantilli that's projected to be your top 6 center that you've needed for so long. You finally have that guy that's projected to be that top 6 center guy, and it's like fucking awesome, and thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
So speaking of a possible top 6 center, it looks like right now they'd kind of slot him into the 3rd line. What's your thoughts on something like that? Do you wait and develop him so he goes right into top 6, or do you put him on a 3rd line or lower?
I'd say this is that I've read more and more about this, is that when Mike Babcock had Austin Matthews, as good as he is, and he's 40 goals, 50 goal season, 60 goal season, all that stuff, when he started out, he put him out on the 3rd line, and I think, oh, why'd he do that? But then you read into it, and it makes sense, is that you let him eat, as good as he is, you don't want to screw with his development, and you ease him into it, gives him some easier matchups for a little bit. When he's ready, he did pull him up to top 6 minutes and didn't leave it after that time. So in some hypothetical scenario, if Fantilli had third line minutes, I'd be okay. I'd be okay with that.
Well, look, Bob, I mean, we had Jim Dowd, Stanley Cup winner, on the show a couple of days ago. What do you say about the third line? It's the best place to play. You're not going up against the best matchups.
I agree.
You're as long as you get some ice time, you're going to be in an advantageous situation for yourself, especially a young guy like that. I think it's probably smarter to put him on the third line.
If anything, though, he probably gets at first.
He won't stay there, though.
They probably put him on the second line to start off. And see where he goes from there. If he does good, you bump him up, because right now Boone Jenner has that number one spot.
Sure.
Yeah.
He has the chemistry with Patrick Laine, Johnny Gaudreau, and even Kirill Marchenko. That's why he's there for now. Eventually, Fantilli will get there. But what about you, Lance? What do you think's on this?
Straight up, yeah. Third line's great for me personally because, I mean, there's still guys fighting for spots at this point. We're actually struggling to fit all these pieces in on the team, and that creates some great competition among the players. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think he should start at third. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I always liked Korpisalo, and we don't get to see him a whole lot. You guys, of course, saw him all the time. What were your thoughts about Korpisalo, and was it a mistake to get rid of him?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. It was a total.
All right, we'll start with Lance. I want to hear why.
Yeah. I mean, they let him walk. The only real reason is because of the season that Elvis Merzlikins had. Now, granted, he doesn't have help back there. There's no defense in front of him, so he can only, even if he saves 99% of shots, if they're allowed to take 70 shots a game, it's still like 2 goals, or you know what I mean? Like that's still a goal, and just having Korpisalo, man, he was a legitimate, just alternate goalie. It wasn't like he was the backup; he was an alternate goalie,
right?
And he was, I mean, he has the record for most saves in a playoff game. So
I always liked him. I always liked Korpisalo, and I think Ottawa is going to be a hell of a lot better because of him this year.
Yeah.
But you're okay with him walking, Kev?
Well, because you have to, because Jonas Korpisalo, good goalie. He's a big reason why their minor league team, the Monsters, won the Calder Cup, and he's just had so many good moments with the Blue Jackets. And probably his biggest moment, in my opinion, where he had 2 shutouts in the playoffs against the Maple Leafs, and that's a big reason why they won that series. Because Toronto, that series was coming in with just a ridiculously good offense, and under Tortorella, they played real good aggressive defensive style, tight checking, combined with Korpisalo just playing lights out, and that took out the Maple Leafs because of his 2 good shutouts. And even this past season, the defense wasn't very good, but he still played ridiculously good and stole a lot of games for the Blue Jackets that they probably should have lost, but they won because of just his outstanding play.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you have to look at this, is that for every team, until the end of the 2023-2024 season, there's going to be that flat cap. And Jonas Korpisalo was on a cheap 1-year, $1 million deal. And the way he was playing, there was no way the Blue Jackets were going to be able to afford that, especially when you consider some of their younger guys coming up for big-time deals that they're going to need to pay. You need to save that money. And when someone like the Kings comes around and offers you a first-round draft pick and a second-round draft pick for him, you take that. You say, thank you for everything, Jonas Korpisalo. Thank you. But it's time, unfortunately, it's time for you to go, because the Blue Jackets need those draft picks. And they got a third-round draft pick, too, and that third-round draft pick was used to get Severson. So it needed to happen.
Which is ours now.
So it needed that trade for Jonas Korpisalo, a goal I would still want to have on the Blue Jackets, but you have to be realistic and honest about it, that there probably was going to be no way that the Blue Jackets were going to be able to afford to pay for that contract that he was going to get.
Right.
Because
That makes
he played
sense.
really good.
So, being that you guys are the Brew Jackets, what kind of brews are we talking about if we were going to go over there that we need to know about? That's maybe more local to you.
Well, you go.
So Kevin doesn't drink. One.
Okay.
I am severely allergic to wheat and barley.
Okay.
I can't drink either. Well, okay, that's not true. I do a lot of ciders,
Okay.
but okay. So there's
It could be brewing coffee, could be brewing tea. It doesn't have to be beer. I might have misinterpreted the name.
No, it's alcohol.
Oh.
So there are a couple good ones around. I haven't always been allergic. It's been something over the last 8 years. So
Oh,
No
wow.
shit.
What a bummer.
there is a company out of Cincinnati called Rheingeist. They do make a really good cider called Cidergeist. It has like a little ghost on the front of the can, and they're awesome. Then there's Brew Dogs, and they actually make a Blue Jackets kind of themed dish.
Oh, that's
beer.
cool. That's cool.
It's called Elvis Juice after Elvis
Whoa,
Presley.
nice.
All right.
Is
And
this a
Brewdog-
gluten
uh,
allergy, Lance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you heard of Glutenberg?
No.
Bobby's
They're
our
a
beer
brewery
guy.
that they
Oh.
produce like a superb stout, considering it's gluten free.
Steve Gutenberg?
And they have a whole line, Glutenberg, yeah. They have a whole
It's the
line. They got a
Police
pale
Academy
ale.
stuff.
They got a couple different things. Got an IPA. So if it's a
Really?
gluten sensitivity, yeah, look
Gluten-free
them up.
IPA?
Bloomberg,
Sign
you
me
get 4
up.
packs, 16 ounce. It's really high quality for gluten free. So that's where you can go. You
I
can
might
get back
have-
in the beer scene.
Uh,
I have one more
That's
question
good
for you
review.
guys too. Actually, who do you
I'll be doing PSAs.
okay. What fan base do you fucking hate the most? Like we all have them. Like we hate the Rangers.
New
right?
Jersey Devils.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's okay. Hey, if it's the devil, say it. I mean,
No, it's not. It's not. So historically speaking, you have to look at it this way: is that most of the time it's Pittsburgh, and the reason
Pittsburgh.
and the
Yeah.
reason and then I'll answer the booze question too. It's Pittsburgh, and the reason is for this because historically speaking, Ohio sports teams in general do not get along with Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh, generally speaking, historically speaking, do not get along with Ohio teams. The Reds have got into fights with Pirates. The Bengals and Browns have had issues with the Steelers where they get at it. And then the Blue Jackets and Penguins have had games over the years and playoff games where they get into it, and Pittsburgh kind of has a little dirty shenanigans and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
It's that Allegheny River rivalry, right?
Basically. So,
Yeah.
like, a perfect example is the
Ohio
2021-2022
That one
season.
too.
The Blue Jackets are playing Pittsburgh, and the Blue Jackets the game is tied at 2, like late in the third period. Crosby blatantly bumps into Jonas Corpusalo, and the puck comes loose, and he scores after that. When that under normal circumstances, that's goaltender interference, no goal. But because it's Pittsburgh, they reviewed it and said, "Oh yeah, that's a goal.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, you can totally do that." It's like,
Yeah.
and the Blue Jackets went on to lose that game. So it's like, thanks. But historically speaking, Pittsburgh, because Ohio sports teams in general don't get along with Pittsburgh. Now,
Right.
as for the booze question that you asked, generally speaking, I don't really do booze, but at our bar is the Big Blue Jackets bar in Columbus, and they have this shot that's called a Stinger Bomb. It's blue, and it's like vodka, tequila, and like one other thing. And
Curacao, probably.
And
Yeah.
and I do that before Blue Jackets games.
Gunpowder.
Also, it doesn't exist anymore, but for 2 years, I had my own Blue Jackets themed beer called Union Soldier.
I like
Damn.
that.
That's
I love
slick.
Yeah.
And so the
That's
basic.
very cool. You had the can label designed and everything? I wish we
So
had
you-
video
you
of this.
brewed
It's
this?
wonderful.
No. And Endeavor Brewing is the beer company in Columbus that did the brewing. They reached out to me, and because I have a Blue Jackets fan group, and they wanted to do a Blue Jackets themed beer, and they said, okay, we'll do it. And we did Union Soldier, so it's the Union Soldier, the hockey stick, the state flag of Ohio. There's
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah,
That's
man,
really
that's a
cool.
great job. That
There's
is fantastic.
There's
Be a cool
cannons
mascot.
on it. There's
Yeah.
tributes to there's tributes to Ulysses S. Grant, William Tecumseh Sherman. A tribute to my 2 relatives in my family that fought for the Union Army that are on this can. Very Civil War heavy theme.
It says white lager, which is
It is a
interesting.
white. Yes, it is
Right.
a
White lager.
Which
Interesting
even
name
adds
combo.
to the Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it
does.
says
Theme,
a Civil
you know?
War theme
Oh.
going on.
There's no
So
insect
for
on the
2
can.
years, Yeah. So for 2 years, basically for 2 years, it sold out really well. All the places in Columbus, and I was going to bring some back up to my home in Illinois when I was in Columbus this past April. I did it in October, but this past April they were sold out, couldn't do it. And then I get an email from them about about a month ago that it's not coming back because Endeavor Brewing just doesn't want to do sports themed drinks anymore.
Yeah, probably some lawyers got that.
It's a beautiful can, though, man.
Yeah, that's a good job.
Well, guys, before we let you guys go, one question: you got Stanley Cup picks. Who's going to be in the Cup Finals? Who's winning the Cup?
Oh wow. Oh shit.
Yeah. No deep dive. Just
that's okay.
God.
It's not like we're going to record this and play it back if you're horribly wrong.
Nobody's listening, Lance.
Damn. Who's it going to be?
Man, I think his head's about to explode.
I'm going to go.
Okay.
I'm going to go. Wild. All right. It's going to be Canes versus Kraken. Let's go.
Oh, I thought you were going Minnesota Wild. I was like, wow, that's a ballsy
That is
pick.
ballsy.
Canes and who did you say?
Kraken.
Wow.
I love that.
That's
Seattle
great. I
pick.
like the pick for the Kraken there. That's pretty
All
cool.
right, so as Devil fans, I got to say that even though we are Devil fans, that would be a fun final to watch.
It would be.
No doubt. How about you, Kev?
Okay, so I have two answers to this. There's the my Blue Jackets fan talking of what I want. Will it happen? Probably not. Which is I want the Blue Jackets to win the Stanley Cup.
Sure.
But probably not. So from the more realistic side of things, I can see a couple teams that could potentially do it. Obviously, Vegas by default because they won it. You kind of have to consider that.
Sure.
Maybe Tampa Bay, maybe Colorado, maybe the Devils this past season. They took that big step to where you make the playoffs, you knock out the Rangers. Maybe they can go on a run to the Stanley Cup, maybe win it. Maybe Carolina can do it. So
Got to give us two teams. You can't go through all 32. Kev. Who's going to be in the Cup
We're
final?
going to pin you down now. You got to pick just two.
Kevin's covering his own ass.
those are the teams. Those are the teams that I think that could do it.
Well, I heard
right.
Devils versus Vegas. That's what I heard.
Guys,
Flyers and Sharks.
Lance and Kevin, guys, thank you so much for coming on,
This
man.
is
We
awesome,
really
guys.
appreciate it. Check them out on the Hockey Podcast Network. Same with us. I said Hockey
Podcast Network?
I said the Podcast Network.
I love the podcast.
That's a cool cat.
Boy, this shit's easy.
Lance was saying he
check
wanted
him out.
to do your readings for you, Chris, today.
No, we got to do that. We'll do that. We'll do that when these guys. We'll do that when these guys go. Thank you guys again so much for coming on. Please, you're welcome anytime. Brew Jackets podcast. Definitely check them out for Blue Jacket fans, or just if you want some entertaining hockey content.
I think we got to meet up after maybe a matchup this year. Look on the schedule.
I think we got to definitely do something.
Maybe a little before or after. That'd be fun.
That would be fun. So, guys, thank you so much for coming. The Brew Jackets.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you very much.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right, take it easy. Cheers.
All right. Hey, guys, we have DraftKings. So they sent out their new schedule, right? Or new thing. So the last one that we got was for college football, right?
Right.
And you can bounce out, Kev. You could just you could X off, dude. Thank you.
You are the best. Thank you.
Peace, brother. Thanks, Kevin.
One quick question.
Sure.
Just wondering this. How come I was, of course, watching the playoffs this past season and watching your series against the Rangers. I think that was great that you're able to knock out the Rangers. But
so do we.
Why did it sound like your playoff games? So it sounded like a Rangers home game when they Rangers.
Because so that's what we deal with. That's what we live with.
It. Yep.
That's why we hate the Rangers.
This is our whole lives, and it has gotten considerably better. When we were in our 20s and going to games, if it was a Ranger game, it was split, man. It was 50-50 or majority Rangers.
I mean, some of this geography. Imagine that where the Blue Jackets play was like 10 miles away from the Penguins.
Yeah.
What would your stadium look like? You know,
Worse Manhattan.
That's what it comes down to. That's the answer. Yeah. Because geographically, it's amazing how close these metro area teams are. They're like
their stadiums are legitimately 10 miles away.
When I saw that happen, I just felt I felt a lot of sadness and just embarrassment. Like, oh man, you're letting that happen for a playoff game. Like, that's
I know.
Yet for us, it was a small victory because it was at least 60-40.
It's only when it's the Rangers.
Okay.
But I do have to say, more so than ever in my entire life, for those games at MSG, there was a nice Devil contingent.
Definitely.
I was very happy with
equal,
the Devil
but
fans that were there.
They were loud.
Yeah, they were loud. They were not nearly the numbers of the Rangers. But look, man, the Rangers have been around for over 100 years. They're, original 6 team.
Yeah.
We came around 1982, and a lot of people that are living in New Jersey with those New York roots, their families, grandparents, and stuff, they were Ranger fans.
You have Devils
passed
fans whose
down.
dads are Ranger fans. That's fucking
it
tough.
happens.
Just because there wasn't a team.
There wasn't a team,
So they rooted for the Rangers.
It goes to show you don't have to be necessarily the winningest team. It's just if you have the biggest media push, and New York media is gigantic, the biggest in the world, you're going to have a sizable fan base no matter what in one of the largest cities in the world. Because, success-wise, that's one nice thing, though, about being the Devils fan. When you're kind of outnumbered like that, you got that underdog mentality. When you win, you're always, it's always Rocky 1. You're always there. You're supposed to go down, but then, you get back up and do it. And it's kind of cool. You got that chip on your shoulder. It gets a little tedious sometimes, too, dealing with the Ranger fans, but it's just kind of built into being a Devil fan, how to deal with that and look at the good and bad.
And one thing to know always is that the Devils have won 3 cups in the last 40 years, and they have won 1. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Oh, hopefully the Blue Jackets will get there soon.
Oh, absolutely. They're definitely, they're building there, and to me, they're following a similar path that the Bengals are following. Is that they're building themselves up, and now last 2 seasons, Bengals in the Super Bowl, AFC Championship game, and now they're going for it again. So
Yep. Once you get that, once you open that window, and you keep it open as long as you can, and it's fun, man. It's just starting for you guys. It's just starting for us. I'm looking forward to the next 5 years. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We had our little mini run there from the 4 straight seasons from 2016, 2017 to 2019, 2020, where that was a lot of fun. 4 straight trips to the playoffs, and you knock out Tampa Bay and Toronto, and that was just a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, so good luck this season, and we'll definitely be in touch, man.
Yeah, man, definitely, brother.
All right.
Thanks again,
Take
man.
care,
Thanks,
Kevin.
brother.
Take it easy.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.
Peace, Kevin.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, brother.
So long, bud.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So now you get to do your reads, Chris.
Well, so they sent the old script, right? I got the new one, and they sent the old one, and last week, which was for college football. And one of the things was to use the code THPN. You bet $5 on any college football game and get $200 in free bets. I'm not a big gambler. Back 20 years ago, I would place a few bucks on football games.
I bet you are.
No, I'm serious. So, but the Hockey Podcast Network sent a little email out to kind of push this thing a little bit more. So I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. So I I opened a DraftKings account, put $5 in. I bet a college football game last night for my $5. Won,
Is
doubled
this
it.
a legit story, or are you doing the?
No, this is a
read
legit
right now?
story.
Because
So
I
I
thought
now
this read
have-
is
Are
so
you
much
sucking
better
us
than the
into
old
this
read.
So I had,
It's amazing.
I got eight $25 bets to get $200 in free bets. So I bet the Devils to win the Cup.
Nice.
I bet the Devils to win the Metro. I took all futures, and some of them a little unrealistic. I bet the Luke Hughes will win the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. And I took Minnesota beats the Jets in the Super Bowl. That $25 bet wins me $8,700. And I don't hate.
Yeah.
First of all, it's never
I
going to
threw
happen.
$25 down a hole the other day too.
You did.
Well, it wasn't my money.
I'm joking.
It wasn't my money.
Bastard.
That's what I'm saying. So-
You have a chance. Absolutely.
I got the new one now, and it's all about football. So
In a month,
next-
Chris is going to be calling us to borrow money. Hey, man, I got this fucking lead.
So the bank just came to my house.
We're
and
gonna
apparently,
upgrade to the next Riverside.
It's $7,000.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, I gotta
Break
get
my
you to
wife's legs.
collect on that $70 right away that you owe me.
So I do, and I have a couple of bets now on the NFL for next week. Like I said, I used my $200 in free bets, but it's not over because DraftKings is the official sports betting partner of the NFL, and they're giving you a can't-miss offer for Week 1. $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 on any NFL game. Trust me, I just did it. And it worked awesome. And I have 8 future bets on awesome
Yeah.
things the Devils are going to do
And you
all
could
year.
you could bet realistic things or unrealistic things. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Well, isn't all betting pretty much unrealistic?
I
There's
mean-
just no sure thing, you know?
I'll bet on
So-
the Uncle Puckers.
So every single day this September, you
And the
can
Brew
get that
Jackets.
on DraftKings. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code THPN to sign up. New customers can take home $200 in bonus bets instantly just for betting $5. That code THPN only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours. Everybody, take a deep breath. I will be going through disclaimers for the next 20 minutes. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available. For problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. ccdkng.co/football for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. That's why I had to use all my bets today, because they expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
Good job.
Boy,
I need
that's
a lot of
long.
credit. You're doing great with these.
You're
Yeah,
going to do
man.
them next week. I have a devil you know. You guys want to do it?
Oh, definitely. Let's do that.
Totally
Okay.
not prepared, as I never am. So, yeah, what's the worst that can happen?
All right. Let me find.
I mean, I want to play a game.
Shall we play a game?
Buckle up, boys and girls. It is time for the Devil You Know on the Uncle Pucker New Jersey Devil Podcast.
I kind of wish Kevin and
would've been
Lance
Lance
have
here.
on just for that part. They don't have to play the game.
Oh, boy. All
But
right.
I would
this
like to
is-
explain to them that is an actual ripper there.
It is.
All right. Anyway,
It is a real fart.
Chris
Yeah.
A
exclusive.
real, wonderful, beautiful
okay.
fart.
All right.
All right. So this is the Devil You Know. I will ask questions. I'll give clues, rather, of a former New Jersey Devil, and Tony, Dan, and Bobby get to guess, try to guess the right answer. They get 3 incorrect answers before they are eliminated. They can ask me any question they want. I can or cannot answer. It is completely up to me.
You know, it occurs to me nobody's ever been eliminated yet.
Nope.
Too scared
We
to
get-
ask the third question.
Could be tonight.
It could be.
I know, right?
Nope. Tony has a penchant for getting these within half a clue, so I
Yes.
expect this to be over pretty quick.
Tony, do you want to just guess right now before we even start? So
Yeah,
we can just...
go ahead.
Does it count
Give me a
against
guess.
me?
No.
Yes.
Throw a name out there.
John Van Beesbrook.
He was the first one we ever did.
Oh, say what's not
Yeah, we need to start sharing the file.
All right, so Tony's out. So
He did share the
Thank
file
God.
with me a couple months ago, I think, actually.
Yeah, we need to redo that. But all right, let's do it.
All right. This guy was drafted in the second round, 60th overall by the New Jersey Devils. He is a Canadian. He was born in Melville, Saskatchewan.
How you spell that?
Melville.
No, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
SASK. Something.
Yeah.
He led
What number was he drafted?
AWAN.
60th
60th in the second round is what he said.
in the second round, 60th overall.
And what year?
I didn't give you a year
You
yet.
didn't give me that
Um,
yet. Okay.
But I will in a little bit. Let's see if you guys can get this.
I'm gonna wait.
He made his NHL debut on October 9th, 2014. He finished his first season with 17 points, 5 goals, and 12 assists in 51 games. He's the first Devils defenseman in history to have 3 multi-point games in his first 8 seasons.
2014.
Yeah. He loves country music. He hung out with Shania Twain at a pro bull rider event at The Rock. just in case you maybe saw a picture floating around the Twitterverse. His favorite movie is Fast and Furious, in case you see him pounding around with old Vin Diesel.
Is he still playing?
Yes.
But not for the Devils.
He's 6'2", 205 pounds.
Oh.
He has 3 points in 12 career playoff games.
Come on, man.
This former Devil is one of the most polarizing Devil over the past 10 years.
Could it possibly be somebody related to
Damon
the guys we
Severson?
talked to today? Exactly.
Well, see, Dan, you should have just said it, even though you were thinking.
I don't care.
Tony said it.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's
Yeah.
Damon Severson.
Oh, geez.
That's it. Very good.
And I had this one done before we even scheduled those guys.
No
so
way. I figured you might have done
I
it
did.
just because
no,
of them.
but I figured let's just keep it with the Columbus theme. So, yeah, it was Damon Severson.
Nice.
Dan, you kind of
I
did
like
Severson.
that. It's-
You put
it's
it in
kinda
on
tricky
yourself.
that you threw him in.
Well, yeah, no, I knew it first, but that's all right. It doesn't matter.
You got to say the name.
I was purposely thinking outside.
Nobody can
I'm like,
catch
there's
him.
no way
It
this is
doesn't
going to
matter.
happen. I think
You could have. You could have easily
Son of a-
said Damon Severson.
I can't.
Because
Yeah,
you
but you
apparently,
can't-
you obviously,
you put it in your own
obviously
head.
had it
Alley,
on your mind.
You can't catch him. You can't catch him. And
So
nobody's
you're
ever going to beat him.
so that you don't. So you're just disinterested in the whole thing because there's no chance of you winning. Is
As
that
long
what
as
you're
I beat
saying?
Bob, it's fine. As
Oh,
long as
you
I beat
got
Bob.
me. But I think that maybe next year Tony's just a permanent host. And we could just see if the three of us can actually win one of these.
I don't mind playing with the greats. It's okay if Tony's
Yeah.
going to beat me on this. He's, Tony's got a little Rain Man in him with this, and I can't compete with that. It's a little magic.
Where hopefully maybe we'll get other games that maybe we'll do
the Damon
better.
Severson, when it's funny because Dan, when you said that, it kind of gave it away. But when Chris said, probably like one of our top in the 10-year, like our defense hasn't been that great in the last bunch of years.
Yeah,
so it kind of made sense, and I had put the years together. So that was,
That's a fairly high draft pick by the Devils. Really, 2014, you can't even pick anybody else. Like those facts alone, there's nobody else there.
What year was he drafted? I think it was 12.
Probably.
So he was drafted in 2012. I want to see what other defensemen went before him.
Damon Severson. Yes. I didn't know the Shania Twain? You said I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
apparently
Speedo.
he's a big country music fan.
The grand winner still buys everybody dinner, right? So we're going to get together at some point.
That's right. I will definitely
Steak and lobster
go
or something
to
like that?
White Castle. They still have White Castle there?
I want a Lithuanian dinner. I want a Lithuanian dinner.
No.
Now,
Man.
Tony,
that
maybe
shit out here.
I don't know. Maybe one of you guys would be able to tell me if some of these guys are still playing because I'm not 100% sure. But there were a bunch of defensemen that were drafted. Ryan Murray was drafted by Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Griffin Reinhart by the Islanders. Is that dude still playing?
I don't know if he's still playing, but I know who he is.
Morgan Riley, Hampus Lindholm, Matt Dumba. There were a lot of good defensemen came out of that. Jacob Trouba. Let's see. Cody Ceci came out of that draft. Malcolm Subban. No, that was a goalie. Wrong one. Jordan Schmaltz. Brady Shea. And then we go down to number 60. And there he is, Damon Severson. So, yeah, there were a lot of good defensemen that went before him.
I got to get my head in this game because he was so newly not a Devil. It wasn't even on my radar. It's almost like you tricked me on purpose. Like, I'm not even going to think of this guy.
I do the same thing. Like, my head automatically goes to, like, 1995.
I keep going to the 90s every time.
Like, I don't. And also, I mean, I have said on the show that I got away from hockey for a few years. When my kids were born.
Chris walked
and
away
stuff,
during the
and-
strike, right? Too.
The strike. That was it.
I remember
done. I
texting
didn't
you
watch
about
hockey for
Taylor
years.
Hall, like getting Taylor Hall or something. You're like,
I asked you who he was.
Who's he? I'm like,
I asked
what
Bobby who
happened?
Taylor Hall.
What
That's
happened
how
here?
out of.
He literally
wow.
said, "Who is he?" I'm like, holy shit, he's
Yep.
not watching hockey.
Nope.
Bobby, did you give it up? I
watch-
never gave it up.
No. I sat
never
through all
gave it
that
up.
shit. I sat through John McClane being the
I was
coach.
down to like a handful of games a year. Just check it in, reading on what they're doing. Some of it because I was starting to get a little, bummed out.
I don't watch them all. I probably still don't. Even last year, to be honest with you, just my schedule. Like I record all of them, so I usually can. But even in the bad years, though, I mean, 90% of the games I'm still watching.
I mean, they were really bad. I had said when all the scuttlebutt was going on about the was it a lockout or a strike? It was a lockout, right? That canceled the whole season. It was both, right? Yeah. So basically, my whole thing was like,
Two sides of assholes.
Yeah, I was like, the millionaires are fighting with the billionaires. I've spent so much fucking money and time going to these games and rooting for this team, and now they're going to cancel the whole fucking season. And I was disgusted. And
I felt the same way. And like our kids were both like at the age where you'd love to take the little kids to the games, and you realize how priced out you are as like the average person from bringing a couple of kids to a game. It's so hard. And then meanwhile, at the same time, they're carving up that giant piece of pie, and it's an argument. So it's kind of disheartening as a fan. And you're like, yeah, fuck this.
Yeah,
and a lot of guys went overseas. I was going to ask Jim Dowd about that. The interview, he went to Germany and played. Right. I mean, a lot of dudes,
And when the lockout happened, I was disgusted. I said, "Fuck this!" I said, every year I spend so much money. I watch this fucking team every single game. I have for the last decade, and you're going to cancel a whole fucking season. I got addicted to American Idol that year, so fuck them for so much more.
Yo, we're lucky.
I got over
here, guys.
I got over the addiction.
That's good.
But
I never stopped watching, man. But I got to say, that was a tough one. I mean, my heart told me I should stop watching, but I never did.
I started in 2015. I kind of watched, I started watching a couple of games, and then seeing, oh shit, they got the first overall pick coming up, and kind of getting excited. And once Heischer got drafted, and I went to opening game that year, and I was kind of, for a couple of years before that, starting to get back into it. At least I knew what they were doing. I didn't watch every game, but I kept up to them. And then by the time Heischer got drafted, I was.
Do you remember walking by him that year? We were leaving from one side of the bars going to the other, and we walked right by Heischer and a couple other guys coming out the side door to get in their limo just to go around Championship Plaza.
I don't remember that.
We walked right by, and I was like, "Holy shit! This kid's he's small, he's thin, he's a kid, and this is Nico Heischer." And he was just there we go, just walking right by.
Yeah, because we were at his first game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and against Colorado. But, I got out of it for a while, and I remember, exactly when Bobby said about Taylor Hall, I texted back, who's he?
That was his exact words.
Yep.
Wow. And I was like, Taylor and Tyler, Taylor Hall? He's like, nope. Holy shit.
It turns out, the way he left the team, it's who's he?
He carried that team, though, for a year. I mean, that was actually a fun year to watch.
Definitely. The year it fell apart was so rough, though. The shit he had with the fans.
I think with him, I don't think he ever wanted to be there. I just think he just didn't ever want to be there. It was just, he was upset when he left Edmonton. It was a big deal.
That's where I get excited about Jack Hughes. He's got a totally different. He doesn't seem on the fence. He seems like he really wants to be here, and that's huge, man. If you're gonna have a star in your team, you don't want to feel like he's just I'm here for now. That's. Well, I know it's a business, but you want your star to want to be there.
I think Jack Hughes, as far as that goes, leads the way. With that, because I don't get that from anybody in that locker room. That this is a place that they don't want to be. People that are, we had guys this year that actually wanted to come here, superstars, and sign long-term contracts here to spend the next, 8 years of their lives here, Meyer and Palat. And it's that's.
Say what you want about Severson. He was actually legitimately bummed that he spent all these years with the team bad, and he wanted to be with the team good.
Yeah,
and he knew it wasn't going to work out.
And that's what probably made it easier. I think he knew he had to go. There's just no for that term. It was his term. It was his contract.
It's just the defense too. The Devils' defense needs to make room, and he's not part of the future. So,
but how shitty would you feel if the Devils go and win the Stanley Cup this year, and you're Ryan Graves? Yeah. You get traded to the Devils from Colorado, and they go and win the Cup.
Yep.
And now if he gets traded to Pittsburgh, and the Devils go and win the Cup, this dude's just going to be Pittsburgh will trade him, just hoping they win the Cup next year.
Yeah.
That's the dudes I feel bad for.
Poor guy's just a year premature his whole career.
You guys remember when Fetisov got moved? I was, obviously he won eventually. He did it with Detroit. But I remember I was how those handshakes must have felt in that line, and you could see the dudes even hugging them. There was definitely Stevens and them. They understood that. How that must
3 months earlier, he's winning a cup. It's that's the worst thing. Yeah.
Well, Dowd bought up Tony Amonte, and I think he was right because I believe Tony Amonte got traded right before they won that cup in '94.
Right.
I believe he got moved out because I thought Tony Amonte was a hell of a player.
What about Bernie Nichols with the Devils in '95? He gets, for like we talked about with Dowd for Broughton, and Broughton Broughton goes and wins the Stanley Cup.
And
It
Nichols was
happens all the
amazing.
time.
Bernie Nichols was amazing.
You know, with Bernie Nichols, the dad was talking about this, but he never got into it. That, you know, when he got called up, first of all, they were going to bring up David Emma instead of him, but he also came in when Bernie Nichols lost his son, if you remember.
Right.
That was that time period when that tragedy
That's fucking
happened.
awful.
Yeah. He came up in that spot, I believe, if I'm correct, that year.
Yeah, he did, and I remember him talking about that. Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. But real quick before we wrap it up, what did you guys think of the outlook of the Columbus Blue Jackets from Lance and Kevin? Did you guys think they were? I mean, I thought they know
were
their
realistic,
team, man,
I think,
but
yeah.
No, I think
Lance was a little more realistic with where the Blue Jackets are probably going to end up this
Yeah.
year. You know, not to shit on them, I'm just saying they are a few years away. And Kevin's very optimistic about the team. He's very excited about them, and I'd be too. You know, I mean, they do have a lot of things to be excited for.
Kevin knew his
Yeah.
shit, too. He knows
Fuck
his
yeah,
shit.
he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're coming from a hard place. They're in a really weird situation because they're not in this continual uprise. They had a really big hiccup. You know, they got the number one free agent 2 years ago. Didn't work out at all. People are starting to question, is it the size thing? Like, does he fit the team? Johnny Gaudreau is a great hockey player. Like, he's going to do fine. You look at their lineup, there's a lot of powerful names in there. I think they handled it well. I think they're just in the same spot, though. Like, it's one thing to be optimistic about your team, but where do you legitimately see them replacing one
Right.
of these other teams? That's the hardest part.
I mean, is Columbus better than Washington? I mean,
You
I
know,
think that jury's out.
I think
A Columbus
Washington
fan would
question
say
mark is
they had so many injuries. A Columbus fan would say, "Yeah, and I understand why you don't think so because you haven't seen them play last year. That's not the team." And so it's like a lot of teams that run into injury trouble. You can't really gauge this year's performance on last year's because it's not going to be the same team.
They really are riding the same trajectory the Devils were 2 years ago.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
I mean,
They were arguably ahead of us.
Yeah, I would think so. But we saw those glimpses, you know, in whatever fucking year it was, 2021. You know, we saw the glimpses. We saw the team, you know, have these amazing third period comebacks, and just like they can't keep the puck out of the net, but when they get things going, they look pretty good. And then when they finally
Saw
get
the
healthy
speed.
and they fix up that goaltending problem, and these guys have a whole season to play together. Man, last season was fucking magical.
Right.
And I mean, I am so psyched for this.
You know, the more we dissect what happened last year and what could potentially happen this year, the more, even though I'll continue to be the homer of homers, the more I like realistically sit back and be like, there's a lot of points we're probably going to lose that we didn't lose last year.
I could see it happen.
Between very late comeback wins, other teams getting better, and I'll still maintain we can still be a better team than this year, but have a lot fewer points. Not just 5 or 6, but 10 or 12. Because the more I kind of analyze, like I was, Chris, your pick on Pittsburgh. I was the one going, I don't know, I think you're putting him too high. And then I sat back and I looked at it again. I'm like, he's got a really good point. So let's say Pittsburgh gets another
Of course I do.
8. Of course you do, yeah. You're Chris, right? You know, like we get another 8 and 10 points. So yeah, the closer we get to opening day, the scarier it gets. I think that's just because of me being the fan that's been beaten down for the last decade. Like I want to sit here and be like, no, this team's going to win the Stanley Cup. But as we progress, it's getting tougher.
And you also have like in the back of your head, right? Like that last year was for real, right? Like this is going to happen again. Like the wheels, the wheels aren't going to fucking fall
I
off.
think
Like
there's
they're
no
legit,
doubt
right?
the points are going to be spread a little bit more evenly throughout the whole conference. Definitely in the Metropolitan, they're going to be spread out a little bit more than they were in the past.
Yeah.
Like if you look at it, the top 2 or 3 teams, there was a huge fall off after that.
Yeah,
last year, and I think it's gonna be a little tighter all up and down the top 8.
Yeah, you're going to have a couple of teams in the Eastern Conference, and both conferences, but we're talking mostly Eastern. You're going to have a couple of teams that are just surprise everybody, and you're going to have a couple of teams that are just going to completely fall off the fucking map, and it's going to be fun to see who's going to be those ones on the bubble really fighting at the end. I mean, are the Islanders going to be there? I don't know. Is Washington? I don't think so. But, you know, Boston, I sit here and I'm still saying I don't know how these guys get back into the playoffs.
I know.
You know,
it depends on injuries because, you know, like if let's imagine like Carolina who's supposed to be a powerhouse this year, the Devils' top opponent, maybe alongside Toronto. If they have like horrible injuries, all those points go everywhere else too.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that just makes it all tighter too. So
And
so
to
many.
be a good
variables.
person, I'm not supposed to root for that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to he shouldn't get hurt.
When we beat Carolina in the playoffs, whether it's this year or next year, but it has to happen. Okay, like for the Devils to really get over that, they gotta exercise that fucking demon.
Mm-hmm.
When they do, I want the Hurricanes in 100% health. I want to beat the best fucking Hurricane team out there. So I hope they don't get hurt, because I want this team to do it legit and just roll people. Because I look at this team a lot like you say, Bob, and you try not to be the homer of homers, but the fact that we follow them, we watch 82 games every single year. I think about this team and I'm like, excuse me, I don't know who can fucking stop them.
I know.
Like they're fucking scary. It's been a long time since I've seen most definitely a top 6 as loaded as we have. Yep. I can't remember a team that had that kind of firepower. Yep. If everyone stays healthy, man, and this shit clicks, they're going to be
lives up
dangerous.
to its potential. Goaltending does its job. I don't see them losing that many games, and it seems crazy to say that because we just talked about how tight the conference is. So both things are somehow true in my mind. I don't know.
And the Devils just take care of your own business. That's it every night. And I mean, look, we all our lives, and we talked about it even on this show with Kevin. We do not get the respect. We are an afterthought.
Don't respect.
We are the Rodney fucking Dangerfield of the NHL.
That's right.
But this year we have 16 primetime games.
Yeah, that was
like
wild.
That's
right?
crazy. I think like the third or fourth. I think there's only 2 teams, Edmonton and one other team, that has more primetime games than we do. Like. Right. So I mean, this team is for real, and we're finally getting the respect. And this could be a magical fucking situation here for the next 8 years, 6 years at least.
Absolutely. From a franchise point of view, it would be so good to have a successful year here, because this is the first time they have not only the technical opportunity, but the media platform to have that success and really make it vault them forward nationally. Like if you're the Devils ownership, you see this as like the best opportunity this organization's ever had as far as a team going into the season. And now you do have the media attention around them enough to really, do something that you've never done in New Jersey, which is
I'm going to put this into a really weird perspective.
Yeah.
But if they actually launch like 8 years of sustained success, whether it be long playoff runs or a cup or two, at the end of that, I'm closer to 60 than 50. Yep. And that's really weird. So, I really appreciate if they go on that run.
But
Jesus Christ.
Not many runs left except for in your pants.
On that note,
Puckers out.
We are the Uncle Puckers. Thank you guys so much for checking us out.
Chris, I got one more question.
Please.
One more, and I'll let you guys go. I know it's late, but
what's up?
Jimmy Buffett's gone. Who are the next 2?
Well, we had one.
I thought Buffett was the
Bob
third.
Barker.
It was
Bob Barker. That's right.
No. Bob Barker was part of the earlier 3 with Huey and Sinead. This is Terry Funk, Bray Wyatt, and Jimmy Buffett.
Do you have rules with this 3 thing? Like how
it's not a rule. It's more of a guideline.
Because anybody can count in
if
3s.
You don't break them into groups of 3s, then the rule of 3 doesn't matter. It's 10.
Right. And it's like, who's the next 4? It's got to be 5, guys. It's got to be 5. So there's got to be 4 more.
Look,
I know there's 4 puckers going around.
I think Jimmy Buffett is happy. I think Jimmy Buffett's happy he never has to sing that fucking Margaritaville song ever again live.
Key West has to be bummed.
I owe him a margarita. I might go do that now.
I all day, any fucking channel on XM I put on, I heard fucking Cheeseburger in Paradise.
I get it.
Margarita.
You don't like the music, I get it, but I got to admire what the guy did for the
that
brand.
Volcano
that brand
song
is crazy, dude.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, no doubt. But
that's what always bothered me about him, though. It's like, hey guys, I'm so laid back. Meanwhile, he's like running, a mega corporation, and he's basically a suit masquerading as a flip-flop guy.
Yeah. I don't
think there probably was a period in his life where it was that, but eventually he turned in more like Warren Buffett than Jimmy Buffett. He's like a financial man. Obviously knew what he was doing because he was quite successful.
Yeah. So I mean, do we have to pick somebody? I mean, Gil Brandt just died. He's a legend in NFL circles. I mean, he just passed away a couple of days ago. I don't know.
Find out.
I mean, I'd rather not start guessing on people. Like, you're actually thinking about
hex
this,
somebody.
Tony. What the fuck's wrong with you? What do you like? Who
I
do
always
know
gotta bring my
answer?
dose of. I always gotta bring my death and doom to the end of the show. Always.
Yeah, you kind of do.
It's my thing.
If I win, I'll get the tattoo on my arm.
Exactly. I got him.
Check us out wherever you get your podcasts. We are also on the Hockey Podcast Network. We are the Uncle Puckers, and thank you for the Brew Crew tonight for jumping on and talking a little Columbus Blue Jacket with us. It was a lot of fun to have them on. For Dan, Tony, and Bobby, I'm Chris. We're the Uncle Puckers. We'll see you when we see you.
Peace.
Later.
Well, that outro, I still don't have that, Dan, so that's you.
Okay, well, that might have to take a second.
Wrong one?
Maybe do an extra.
I
read.
could play something else.
No, I got it somewhere here.
I could.
We can't even leave the show.
Now we're stuck here in limbo.
Now we're watching videos.
What is this?
Yeah,
the
it's a
fuck is
Riverside
going on?
commercial.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, all right.
I hit the wrong button.
I think people punched out long ago.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh,
I don't even
yeah,
know why
I know
we're here.
exactly where they punched out.
This is like, yeah.
Yeah,
So we're pulling up the.
Can you just do a hard cut at this point?
That's it,
yeah,
man.
I could, but this is more fun.
Okay,
All right.
you want me to actually find it? Because
Yeah,
I'll
I'll-
take even longer.
No.
Or Chris, why
We're
don't you do a
talking-
rendition? Why don't you sing for us some Margaritaville on the way out?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Wasted away again.
Not Bob
Margaritaville.
Bob Dylan's not dead, goddammit. I feel like you just cursed Bob Dylan, and if he died,
There you go, number 3.
He's
There
next.
you go. There's your
right.
answer.
Hey, Bob Dylan's on the list.
It's over, Johnny. It's over!